Hi everyone, welcome to the Rare Record Room. In this video I shall be looking at some records from a group styled as the greatest rock and roll band in the world. These Londoners nonchalantly crashed onto the scene in the early 60s and have swaggered their way effortlessly through the music industry ever since. I am of course talking about the legendary Rolling Stones. Hello again and thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to take a look at one of the rare UK export LPs from the Rolling Stones, which is the 1965 Decca export album Out of Our Heads. Not to be confused with the standard British LP of the same name under the Decca catalogue number 4733. This was released at the same time, or possibly just before, under a slightly earlier number 4725. Both were available in mono and stereo with either an LK or SKL prefix. I've covered the standard UK LP at length in a separate video which you may wish to check out. The export copy was pressed in England for sale in mainland Europe. The export version includes the international hit single Satisfaction and the B-side The Spider and the Fly, which was not featured on the home market version, as it was the British practice at the time not to include current singles on LP releases. No such conventions were in place in the USA, however, so the American London Records version featured the big hit song plus the B-side, as well as the previous single The Last Time plus its B-side, and it was this version that Decca UK chose to release across Europe. It has the same track listing and David Bailey photo cover as the American LP, which differs considerably to the UK home edition as shown here. In total there are 6 changes to the track listing. The home version features She Said Yeah, Gotta Get Away, Talking About You, Oh Baby We Got a Good Thing Going, Heart of Stone and I'm Free, which were replaced for the US and export versions with the aforementioned 2 UK singles and their B-sides, plus I'm Alright and One More Try. I'm Alright had already appeared in the UK in June 1965 on the EP Got Live If You Want It, and One More Try would not be available in the UK until the 1971 Decca compilation Stone Age. The export album was available in both mono and stereo, issued on red and blue labels respectively, and is rather more scarce than the British standard album. Like all Stone's 60s Decca labels, there are several variations in type design and layout, including changes in typeface, position of the copyright boxes, etc. The 2 most significant points are whether the label area has a deep ridge or not, and whether the Decca company logo appears on the label in large text without a box surrounding it, or if it appears in a smaller size set within a rectangular box. This methodology applies across the Decca catalogue in the 1960s, meaning records exhibiting a pressing ring around 15mm from the outer edge were pressed up to 1968, and copies without this ridge being pressed from 1968 onwards. The Decca boxed label was introduced in the autumn of 1969, meaning unboxed labels without a pressing ring must date from mid-1968 to October 1969. Anything pressed after October 69 until the early 80s will have a boxed label and no pressing ring. I'll take you through some of the label variations in detail now. This copy in mono has the pressing ring and the song titles are in a non-serif type. The copyright boxes are stacked on the left below the date. Next to this we have a copy with the song titles in a serif type, and the copyright boxes are on the right side by side below the catalogue number. Then we see a similar layout but with a dash before each song title, also in a serif type. Here the side 1 indicator and the KT tax code have also shifted position. All 3 of these so far were pressed between 1965 and 1968. Finally we have a copy without the pressing ring with songs in serif type and copyright boxes on the right. This has been pressed from mid-1968 to October 1969. I do not have a boxed Decca logo copy in mono, but these may exist. Moving on to stereo copies, we have an example with the pressing ring and non-serif song titles. Copyright boxes are stacked left below the date, and the KT tax code appears on the right. The music credits A to F are split in 2 columns across the label. Next is a copy with the pressing ring and the song titles in serif type, with the copyright boxes now on the right. The date and tax code have each swapped sides, and the credits A to F are in a single column on the left. Again, with the pressing ring, both of these are made between 1965 and mid-1968. Now we see a copy with exactly the same label layout as just described, but manufactured from mid-1968 to late 69, as it does not have a pressing ring. Finally, we have an example of the boxed logo label design, pressed after October 1969 without the pressing ring. This has serif type songs, the side indicator and copyright boxes side by side to the left, and the music credits placed after each track. The tax code no longer applied in the UK, so this has been dropped, and the date is repositioned to 6 o'clock. Moving on to the sleeves. Both mono and stereo sleeves are the front laminated non-flipback style, printed in England by Robert Stace Limited. The mono or stereo wording and the catalogue number appears on the top left corner of the front and the top right of the rear, and there is a white box printed on the front of the sleeve advertising the smash hit single Satisfaction. There is a variation within the track listing on mono sleeves only, with the earliest copies noting track 6 side 1 spelled as one word All Right with a single letter L. This was then changed to 2 words All Right with 2 L's. The 1960s inner sleeves are the period company die-cut paper design, printed either with playing and handling instructions in dark grey or with box notices printed in blue. These come with a clear polythene lining bag. Inner sleeves for box label copies may be slightly revised, with block printing in pink for mono or in blue for stereo copies. The final example I will demonstrate has an entirely new label design dating from 1984 under a new catalogue number, which has a much smaller box Decca logo and red and blue trim set against a silver background with the label text printed in blue. This one is a digitally remastered version of the album, which is stated on both the label and on a red sash on the front cover. The Decca logo has been shifted down to accommodate the red sash, and the advert for Satisfaction, which was obviously no longer a current hit, has been removed. The rear layout is essentially the same, but adds a barcode and the ABCO music credit next to the Decca logo. These LPs are housed in a period non-die-cut company inner, with a large box notice at the foot and a handy date code of July 84 to the right corner. Turning now to prices. In the current edition of the price guide, unboxed mono copies of the export LP in mint condition are listed at £200, and unboxed stereo pressings are valued at £250. The guide does not differentiate between ridged or non-ridged labels, so we must assume the values are the same for both. Box label copies are perhaps even scarcer, although I'd argue less desirable due to their later vintage, but I would still expect to pay around £100 or more for these. The digital remaster from the 1980s has a lesser value of perhaps £20. And that brings to an end my brief look at the rare British export LP from the Rolling Stones, Out of Our Heads. That's your lot for this episode from the Rare Record Room. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did like the video, please make sure you subscribe to the channel to see more and to receive notifications for any new uploads. Thanks for watching. See you next time.